Hey, what's going on, guys? Inky Johnson. Thank you for your time, man. Here for the first segment of Sudden Change. I'm a former collegiate football player, as some of you all may know and some of you all may not know. But during practice, we always had a period to where we practiced this thing called sudden change, right? And what sudden change was, it was a quick shift that can happen within a game, and it can change the momentum. It can win or lose your game. And so we had a period that was dedicated to it. But the key to sudden change was when it happened in a game, you never know when it was going to happen, right? All you could do was adjust to it, right? You practice it, but you never knew when it was going to happen. And so what I want to do with this series is just bring stories, bring a word of encouragement, right? About sudden change, right? That's happened in the lives of people, how they adjusted to it, what was the lesson in it, to try to just serve as a source of inspiration or empowerment or encouragement during the current climate of what we're all facing in this world during this coronavirus and the sudden change, right? And so the first story I want to share with you is a story about a gentleman that I met in Seattle last year when I came in town for a speaking engagement, right? And he picked me up from the airport, great spirit about him, and he drives me to my hotel, and I get out of the car and I say, man, thanks a lot, I greatly appreciate it. And he said to me, I just want to let you know that I'll be the gentleman that's coming back to pick you up in the morning and take you to your speaking engagement. I said, great. What time would you like for me to be down? He said, 7:15. I said, great. I'll see you then. Next morning rolls around. I come downstairs. We greet each other. I crack a joke with him. I get in the car. We're riding to the speaking engagement. I'm looking at my phone because I always track the route. And usually 5 minutes into the trip, I'll look up, check things out. And when I looked up, I looked in the mirror and I could see the guy's face and I noticed he was crying. And so I said to him, excuse me, sir, is everything okay? And he said to me, I want to paint a picture for you. He said, my normal job is not in transportation. I'm not a driver. He said, my buddy owns the company, but whenever he gets overwhelmed, he'll call and say, hey, man, can you cover a shift for me? And he said, I'll usually do it for him because he does a lot of work with the Seattle Seahawks. He said, but I haven't did it for him in probably over a year. He said, but whenever we did work with the Seahawks, pick a guy up, take a picture, share with my kids, always a cool experience. And he said, when I picked you up and dropped you off last night, I didn't know if you worked for the Seahawks, used to play for them or not. And so I went on the computer to look you up, and I started seeing these videos, and I saw one about redirection, and I saw one about perspective. And he said, the reason I'm crying is because my wife just died. He said, I just lost my wife, sudden change. He said, I just lost my wife. And he said, I've been living my life thinking, surely there's nothing that can bring me the energy, the passion, the purpose that my wife once brought me, the driving force that my wife once brought me. And he said, I'm not saying that the videos can replace my wife because nothing could ever replace my wife. He said, but what it did for me was it brought me a renewed perspective and a renewed feeling, right? And he went on to share some additional things. And when he got done, I said to him, excuse me, sir, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, can you tell me at a basic level, right, how when you encountered the sudden change, the opposition, the adversity, the darkest moment of your life, how did you adjust to it? And how did you pick up the pieces and literally put one foot in front of the other, carry on in your career, raise your other two children? How did you continue to function in the midst of the change, right? Like, because we all know it, the quote by Dr. Martin Luther King, it says it. You judge the character and caliber of a person not by where they stand in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the character and caliber of a person by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy, right? And so in the midst of the sudden change, what did you do and how did you adjust? And he said to me, I have to be honest with you. He said, my wife had been sick for 30 years. Said she got to a point she was wheelchair bound, right? I would help her every single day, and it was getting heavy, right? He said, I would complain, I would fuss, I would cuss about the situation until one day I got to the point I was helping my wife, and I looked at her in a wheelchair and I said, I'm leaving. He said, I called my buddy, he picked up, he answered the phone, I complained to him. I said, can I come and stay at your house tonight? Buddy said, sure. Packed a night bag, went to his house, stayed that night, got up the next morning, went into the restroom with my night bag, went into the bag, grabbed my toothbrush, grabbed my toothpaste, started brushing my teeth in the mirror. And he said, as he was brushing his teeth, he said to himself, for rich or for poor? Yeah, we've been pretty poor. He said, for better or for worse? Yeah, things have gotten pretty worse. He said, through sickness and health. And he stopped. And he said, the conviction was so strong that the conviction said to him, you didn't finish. You're not who you said you were, right? You're not doing the things that you said you would do. You didn't stay in the pocket, right? You were all good when it was all good, but when the sudden change happened in your lives, you didn't stay true to who you said you were true to, and you bailed. And the conviction was so strong, he said it took him out of his friend's door, right back into the door of his house. And when he walked in, his wife asked him, what are you doing here? Right? And he told her, give it to me. I deserve it, right? I'm in the wrong. Give it to me. And he said when she got done, he said to her, I just want you to know that I'll never leave again. I just want you to know no matter how bad it gets, I'm going to stay in the pocket. I'm going to be here. You'll never have to worry about that again. I said, great, I got that part. I said, now answer this last question for me. He said, what you got? I said, if you can go back, shift, change, do anything different about the sudden change, right? What would it be? He said, man, that's easy. He said, I would have shifted my perspective a lot earlier and I would have embraced it. He said, because the moment I changed my perspective and I embraced it, I didn't even view it as opposition or adversity anymore, right? I viewed it as an opportunity, as cliche as it sounds. He said, I was able to take that experience and add value to every environment I went into and every person's life that I came in contact with. I said, bingo. He said, why did you say that? I said, man, I just firmly believe perspective, right? Like when you said perspective, I'm a firm believer that perspective drives performance every day of the week, right? I'm just a firm believer how we view what we do will always affect how we do what we do, right? Like when the change happened, the perspective changed, right? Like when the change happened, he looked at it in a different manner, right? And so I got a challenge for all of us, right? With us going through this sudden change, with everything that's happened right now in the lives of all of us, can we shift our perspective to just see the good in it? But not only see the good in it, can we extract it and add value to someone or something every single day? Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Peace.